Marcus, we've been talking about project management stuff today, and that's good because you're getting into things like owners, procurement. So what sort of input, what sort of added value input can the commissioning authority have on subcontractor procurement or any procurement for the owner?
Well, I've noticed, I don't know, probably in the last year or so, it's coming up more often as a question, like on RFQ or P, where it's just like they'll say, hey, we might want to incorporate, not all the time, we might want to incorporate y'all in the subcontractor selection plan. And then it's kind of like, write to us, what you think that would look for from your side. And I'm like, great. Right. So it's just like, obviously, for anybody who's going to be selecting anybody for any job, you're always going to have main objectives, right? Of any time you're going to have a selection process. Obviously, these are going to be to reduce risks. It's basically to maximize quality, maintaining the relationships between the parties, right? So remember, this is after you brought them on. But yeah. So then you got to ask the question on, like how do you decide who you pick, right? And this comes back to, if you brought us on early, we can actually help with these things, right? So, which we always emphasize. So obviously, all this starts well in pre-construction. It starts PDSD. I mean, well before you break ground. I mean, so before you pick all your people. So, and then it's like coming up with these evaluation questions, right? And then people always ask you, well, what would be the criteria for these? Well, if you've been in this industry for a little while and you know your region or your area, I mean, you'll probably end up knowing, the best local subcontractors for electrical, mechanical, controls, right? And people talk. Okay, let's just be real. Like, they're good at this, but they're not good at this, but they're good at this. And you don't say anything good or bad about it. But at the exact same time, where some of the areas I always look for when I talk to people is like, hey, what is their experience? Like, I always tell people, like we talked about, never underestimate the power of experience, right? Oh, they have all these people from MIT. Who cares? You know what I mean? Great school, right? But it's just like experience. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, I want folks who've been out there for 20 or 30 years that, like, you talk to them, they're like, yeah, I built that. It's just, you know what I mean? And it's like, they're all just weathered. They know what they're doing. Like, those people are so important, right? And are they involved? Their experience. I mean, are they involved with the different BOMAs, IFMAs? I mean, are they out there? Do they talk about this? Do they believe in it, right? Second of all, the reputation is based on experience, right? If you know that you're looking for someone credible and you know that you've worked with them, and basically because it's so important, I hate to say it, but litigation cases, claims, conflicts, issues, do they have a record of them, right? You know what I mean? It's just like, look at that kind of thing. Once again, another word, accountability. Accountability is definitely understanding, how they run it, who runs it, who are the people involved. Remember, the best group of people it's not a product. It's always the PM champion. It's like, oh, I want to work with that person. You know what I mean? Because everybody knows the right people actually make the job the best, right? And so then we go down the line a little bit. We start talking more about quality assurance, quality control processes that we all talk about, risk mitigation. Well, what are their processes, right? But remember, everybody likes to say what they are, but take the other four things I just said and you put them all together. And then, there's the last couple things here. Like, so just like we live in the world of checklists, I want to see their checklist. I want to see their MOPs. I want to see how they actually do this and how they work with us in commissioning, how they're going to be like, this is how we do it in the past. This is our checklist. Here's how we take yours. And here's how we get together for schedule, milestones, right? Test ready, operational ready. Like, you want to know how they're going to basically work within our teams. And then last thing, which is most important, is their flexibility and how we can work with cooperatively, basically resolving delays. Because, oh my God, like you said before in a session, only 0.5 of all projects actually get done on time. Yeah. So we know there's going to be delays and flexibility. How are they willing to work with us and the owners?
Yeah, so procurement, again, this is another area where owners sort of have a resource called the commissioning authority sitting there and they don't really use them. At the very least, they use it from advice, right? Because procurement is about qualification, verifying social proof, and then financial performance on price, right? But the lessons learned, right? This is where the commissional authority is good. They have this long list of lessons learned, like battle scars from various jobs, and just knowing the industry, right? So when you're an owner, you're procuring so many different things, right? So you could go to the commissional authority and say, help me pre-qualify and qualify and test and check the social proof for the electrical contractor, the mechanical contractor, the BMS contractor, the tag contractor, right? Use that intel. It doesn't mean the commissional authority is going to be the sign-off, but to provide that intel into the team is actually valuable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you take that up? If someone's sitting there with that knowledge, why would you not tap it?
Well, interesting enough, it's just like sometimes, like, so I like to think of myself as Superman,
Yeah.
right? But it's not, most of the time I'm lucky if I'm even like Robin and Batman and Robin, right? Or, maybe the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
I don't know. But for the most part, I guarantee that we will be able to offer a little bit of advice, and that little bit of advice will sometimes help. Like, that's a good idea, right?
Yeah.
That little one good idea. Remember, but we all bring that. We all bring that to the table as long as we're together, working together. It's amazing when you get 4 or 5 people, not 20, right? And they're sitting around the table, and we're trying to figure out how an air handler works, or why not, or basically, or a chiller, or sequencing, or something like that. You can have like this dream team, right? And you can just knock it out, and you're like, you know what I mean? But you got to establish that, that je ne sais quoi, or whatever that, that thing is that you guys have done together, and but it all starts with the selection of the subcontractor and the group that's involved with it. And listen, I don't like groupthink. I like different people. I like pulling different people from all walks of life, different parts of different projects, because everybody offers so many wonderful things. Yes, people are not good people, right? You want someone who's going to say, this might not, be what you want to hear. And then all of a sudden, a minute later, you're like, that was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, to wrap this up, if you're an owner and you compiled a project team, you should use that team as much as you can to help you specify well, procure well, and select well, right? That's the whole point of the team. But the brain trust is there. And I just don't think on most projects it's wide enough. It's normally like, the architect and the owner and the main contractor, or the main contractor, you just got to widen that group, the knowledge group, right? Widen the council of elders and like have more input to those procurement choices.
Well, remember the old, Simon Sinek. I was just going to say, Simon Sinek is one of my favorite quotes. Is basically, a team is not a people that work together. A team is a bunch of people who trust each other.
Yeah,
right.
Trust comes from experience, right?
Exactly, and but the trust is the most important part, that you'll actually bring something to it. But
here's the argument for doing what we're talking about. Everybody has a job where they think has a job in their background where there was one bad subcontractor or contractor who just ruined it for everybody, right?
Well,
made everybody's life
ask yourself this one question, right? Yeah. So years later, when you're basically having some drinks at the pub or whatever like that, see, I'm going Brit on me here. So you're going to remember back, and someone's like, hey, remember that project we were on? You're like, yeah. You're going to basically remember like the awesome contractor.
Yeah.
And then you're going to remember the jerk contractor.
Yes, correct.
You're never going to like equate, I was an awesome project because of these people, the team, right? And it's going to be like, oh, that project sucked because we couldn't get along. It's never because the project or what it was. It was the groups of people.
Yeah, we've all had those jobs where everything went well and the team gelled well, but there's not a lot of analysis about why that happened, right?
Nope.
Someone said to me, construction jobs are like an episode of Seinfeld. Everyone's in business for themselves and no one learns anything, right?
You know what? Jobs,
no analysis.
Listen, for me, jobs have, like, everybody who knows me that works on a job, like, I'm as serious as a heart attack when I need to get it done. But most of the time, I like to play. We like to have a good time, and we like to joke and laugh. But we're all there, as friends to get it done. But you got to have levity in certain situations, and try to enjoy the ride.
Just my final bit of advice for owners is, think back those jobs that went well. Do more of that, more cowbell, right?
Yeah, more cowbell.